Well, it's another cold and snowy day here in central Illinois. Hey, everybody, David Burns. Good to be with you today. Green Chair Answer Friday. Thanks for joining me today. Going to answer your questions. I'm really amazed at how many beekeepers have very good questions, and I'm happy to be a part of answering those questions today. So I hope you can just sit back, relax, and enjoy learning more about bees. Remember, when these kind people ask all of these questions, it may not be a question that you're asking yet, but it is going to be a question that you'll eventually run into, and you are going to say, what did they say? I remember David answering that question. Let's jump right into it today. But before we do, let me encourage you to please subscribe to my YouTube channel. It means a ton to me. So just take a moment, hit the subscribe button. I appreciate it. Tom says, David, once you draw the bees up and they will not go back down, what good is all the honey stores? Well, this is a natural way that bees navigate winter, Tom. And actually, I mentioned this in my live stream last night. I'll leave a link at the end of this video to that live stream. And by the way, in that live stream, I spun the wheel. We have a spin to win wheel, and it has different things on it. And one of them is me doing a waggle dance. And last night during the live stream, it landed on waggle dance. I had to actually do a waggle dance. So you want to watch the live stream last night. But anyway, back to your question, Tom. Naturally, bees move up into the honey, like in their natural habitat, a tree. So it's warmer up there. They're making heat. And so they just gradually move up. And that's the problem, Tom. If there's no honey up there, or if they run out of honey, yeah, the cluster, it's hard for the cluster to go back down. I'm not saying they won't go back down, but it's hard for them to navigate or kind of know where the honey is. Jennifer, what type of metal tape to fix the Winter Be Kind lining? Oh, I don't have anything. It's back in the other shop. I go to my local hardware store, Lowe's, Home Depot, any kind of store like that, and just buy metal tape. Yeah, metal tape. I don't believe it's what you use in ductwork. No, but it's very easy to buy. I love it. I have several rolls of it. I use it for so many other applications. I've even used it to repair hives. One of my videos, Patrick and I were filming, and it had a mouse hole in it. And if you watch that video, you notice I put not electrical tape. By the way, this is raw and unedited. And so I put the metal tape to cover up that hole. It sticks really good to bee boxes if you just need a temporary solution to block something. Every beekeeper needs to have a roll of metal tape. Maybe I'll try to look up an Amazon affiliate link and leave it in the description. Help you out there, Jennifer. James, what is the best way to get emergency feed? Is candy board the only way? No, candy board is a great way. Candy boards have been around since the 1800s. And of course, I've modified the candy board to become the Winter Be Kind board because it has insulation on the top and ventilation and food. But no, you can use other things. A lot of people use different kind of fondants. The mountain camp method, people would pour sugar on an intercover board. There are other ways to get emergency feed up there. If you watch some of my very old videos before I invented the Winter Be Kind, you'll see me putting bags of sugar water, and I poked little holes in the top of the bag, just a Ziploc sandwich bag. And I found that when it has 2 Ziplocs on it, it works better. But I think some companies now are actually manufacturing those. But back in the days, we used to put sugar water. I'd put 1-to-1 sugar water in a sandwich bag, lay it on top of the frames, build a shim or a spacer, and bees would do that. It wasn't good. For me, it wasn't the best way, but it worked a little. It kind of worked a little bit. All right. Hey, David, I heard a dissected bee in the winter is white while summer bees are dark on the inside. Is that true? Wait a minute. I heard a dissected bee in the winter is white, while summer bees are dark on the inside. Is this true? Okay. I've dissected bees in the summer, and they are a white color. I don't know if they're dark. I don't think so. I could be wrong, of course. What would make them dark? Humans, our insides don't change colors based on the outside temperature, but who knows? I'll look into that. Okay, I'll get back with you on that one. Yeah. Can you put a heat blanket on a hive to warm them? Yeah, you can. It probably would work, but there's a lot of things that could cause an issue. You have electricity out in the open. If it rains, there could be a short, kick a breaker. It could mislead the bees to think it's warmer outside than it is. They might eat more food being warmer. There's a lot of things like that you'd have to really think about. David, should I worry about cleaning snow off my bottom board? Could the CO2 levels become too high? Interesting. I've done a lot of studies on bees and CO2 levels in clusters, what the level is. What is it? It's like 3,500 or 6,000. I don't know. It's pretty high in the cluster. That's carbon dioxide. It can be. It could get too much. They could suffocate, I guess, and have too much. Some ventilation is healthy, I think. Oh, and by the way, CO2 levels in bees is really something that's monitored heavily with equipment, handheld devices, larger devices that people that keep bees way up north, like Canada, they use these measurements to determine if they need to reduce or increase the CO2 level. So that is something people that keep bees indoors really wrestle with. Would you be worried to put resources from a dead out on a hive going through winter needing resources? I wouldn't be worried if I was for sure I knew why the dead out died, okay? If I don't know why they died, I'm fearful they could have died of a virus or bacteria, and that could be spread sometimes in the comb. So I would be a little bit worried about that. But if I knew why they died, if the queen just failed, the population dropped down to nothing, they didn't have a disease, I wouldn't be afraid to use that. Any problem doing a split from an 8-frame hive into a 10-frame hive other than being a frame short? Well, you'd be 2 frames short, but no problem with that. That's just a matter of equipment preference on your part. 60 degrees in California. Hope you're doing safe with the fires out there. I need my hives ready to go for full force by middle of February for almond blossom. Do you think it's too early to start feeding 1-to-1 sugar water versus winter be kind? No, I don't think so. I think you're right on. February. Oh, absolutely. 1-to-1. Get on it. In your candy board video, you said you heated it up to 250. Does it have to get up to that temp? What would happen otherwise? The less you heat it up, the less solid it's going to be, or the more moisture you're going to have in that winter be kind board. And so I think the person, just a beekeeper at home, and you're going to make them and take them right outside, I think you could, excuse me, I think you could be safe at 245 to 248 and still get it to bond together. But once you turn it upside down, the fear is that if it warms up to 65 degrees, the heat of the ambient temperature and the bees might make it dissolve a little too quickly and overwhelm the bees. They might not be able to eat it as fast. It's designed so that it's solid, but then the heat of the colony makes it liquidy and they eat it. Yeah, took us a couple of years to figure that out. Okie-doke. Well, okay, Mike. Do they tend to fly out of the top of a hive when it's really cold out? They do fly outside the winter be kind opening just a little ways when it's cold outside. Like bees really don't fly unless it gets up above the cluster temperature of 50 degrees Fahrenheit and 10 degrees Celsius. So if it gets above that, bees will fly. And but they'll take a flight, a cleansing flight. I've seen it at 20 to 30 degrees outside that little hole. They'll just fly out and they'll defecate and fly right back in. So they can do that. All right. Is there a difference or better in doing a dry mixed candy or a wet mixed candy board? Are either one better than the other? The thing to consider here, Tammy, is we want our bees to be able to consume it. And to consume it, bees don't chew their food like we do. They can, I know they have mandibles, they have mouth parts, I know they eat pollen patties, I know that, but everything a bee eats, they eat through a straw. Basically, similar to a straw is their proboscis. So when they fly out to a flower, they actually suck up the nectar from the nectaries of flowers through their proboscis. A lot of insects do that, like butterflies and all. And so you don't want to make it so hard where they have to add so much of their own saliva to the hard candy to liquefy it. So the easier it is for them to consume it like honey, the better that is. All right, Larry. Hi, David. If the clustering is essential to keep brood warm, what happens if they move up? Does it leave brood exposed? Good question, Larry. They won't abandon brood. No, they won't. So even if they run out of honey, they'll die. And I showed some pictures on my live stream last night of a colony that I lost where they died protecting the brood because they didn't want to move to where the food was. And so that's why I love feeding them from the top. They always have access to food on top of the cluster. Robert, hey Robert, I think you and I had a Zoom call last week. How often do you see new comb being built to a candy board? anytime I forget to change them as quickly as they go empty, then the food that they consumed, they can easily metabolize that and make wax. Remember, the bees have winter physiology, so they are capable of making wax. And if they consume all that candy board from our winter bee kinds and you don't replace it and it just sits there empty, that's a space of 1.5 inches that they could easily add wax to, and I've seen it myself. Linda, well, congratulations, Linda. You won the Ultimate Beekeeping Course last night during our live stream. Way to go, Linda. Would a notch at the top of the frames in the middle help the bees move around? Not so much. If you remember, there is openings when the traditional Langstroth frames are butted up against each other, like in a hive. There's openings at the top so they could go up. And the way the sidebars are, they have an indentation at the bottom so they can go around that way. It would help very little. I even experimented a decade or two ago about cutting holes in the comb in the wintertime so the cluster could move through those holes going sideways. And that didn't work either because they choose to go where they want to, or they move very little actually in the winter. So a tight cluster anyway doesn't. All right. Paul says, Dave, at what temperature can bees move from one frame to another? Anytime bees are above freezing, they can move, right? If they're 33 degrees, a bee can move. It might move slowly, real slow. But typically inside a hive, it's going to be 80 degrees away from brood. It's going to be 90 degrees next to brood. So in the wintertime, they're going to be able to move. Now, if they get too far outside the cluster, on the outside edge of the cluster, on a very cold day, and they're not being fed, then what happens, the outer edge of the cluster, they're so cold, they can be near freezing, and they can't really move. And so they're just pulled into the middle of the cluster to be warmed up. Does that answer your question? All right. I saw small hive beetle under my Hive Alive fondant. Well, beetles are like any other insect. They love any kind of food you put on them. You put any kind of food, whether it's fondant. I don't think I've seen a lot on winter bee kinds, but I think they would like that. And any kind of sugar, proteins. The small hive beetle are just like the bees. They're going to want to eat. Yep. When making a split, how far should you move the hive from each other? 3 miles. 3 miles. Wait a minute. I know you're thinking, I can't do that. Okay, you can't do that? Well, if you can't do that, the best next thing is to move it as far as you can and then put something in front of the hive. I've made many videos about this on my channel here. Check those out, where I've parked my golf cart in front of the opening. When I moved a split far away, I left it there a day or two. You want to force the foragers from the old hive that are in a new location to take a reorientation flight. All right. Hey guys, you use winter bee kind boards with metal foil on one side. My question is, will the bees eat the foam under the candy, or does the metal foil face the frames? Oh, I see. No. So we use, our winter bee kinds have foil on both sides. There's not foam on one side. And so the candy faces the frames. And if they eat all the candy, they're left with the metal. They will not touch that metal. But I'll tell you this, if you nick it, and we do sometimes, and we have to throw those out, or I use them. If you nick it and the candy goes down into the foam, they will just eat all that foam out trying to get that candy. So if that happens, that's why you use metal tape when you refill them, to cover up any cuts or tears of the metal that's covering that foam. We used to refill winter bee kinds years ago. People would send them back, ship them back, bring them back, but we don't refill those anymore. We provide a recipe where anyone can fill them, and you can watch our video too of how to refill them. I got several winter bee kinds boards, some empty. When I filled, one or two leaked a little. Would putting silicone around the edge fix that and be heat resistant? So you're saying that when you poured your candy in, that I think you're saying some of the candy leaked around the foam where it slides into the board and came out the bottom. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, we carefully try not to make the gap there. So the trick there is in the candy maker. Like if you poured water on a winter bee kind, water will leak out it's not designed to hold water, okay? The trick is you've got to mix, you got to follow the recipe exactly so that when you fill it, there's enough sugar content in the liquid that you're putting on the winter bee kind that it won't traverse around the foam board in that crack and where we cut those notches. That's the trick. Yep. All right. Well, guys, that was quick. I got through those questions in no time at all. That's wonderful. I appreciate you guys so much. And I love the Green Chair Answer Friday. I hope you enjoy it too. A lot of talk, a lot of discussion right now going on about what to do with your bees in the winter time and how to make winter bee kinds and all of that. And I know that we're not that far into winter. You know, we're only in the second week in January. And so here in Illinois, it's really snowing and it's cold today. We got a lot more months of winter ahead of us. So keep feeding your bees, keep checking on them, and my goodness, you know, keep them well fed. That's I think that's the key. Keep them well fed. Okay, I'm going to leave a link right here to my live stream last night. Our live stream is so fun. You got to come and join us on Thursday night, 7 p.m. Central Time. It's a blast. I love it. We do it every Thursday night. I'm joined by my team of Sherry and Jessica and Robbie. They do a great job helping the live stream go well. And you guys are great for being there. You're called Beak Squad for being on the live stream, part of the squad, and you're beekeepers. So do check out our live stream. You can ask your questions, and if I don't answer them on the live stream, I'll do my best to answer them the next day on Friday. Here's the live stream from last night. Take a look at it. See you guys over there.